Good morning, afternoon, and or evening. What can we do, you and I, to maintain a positive and resilient mindset? I'm recording this on Sunday, the 27th of September, 2020, and I date stamp this video because I think it's fair to say that just in the last few days, certainly here in the UK, I'm based here in South London, there has been a noticeable darkening in the mood in terms of in the media, in terms of headlines, in terms of public discourse in relation largely, of course, to COVID. That may or may not be true for where you're based, but it speaks to a wider point, namely, what can we do to stay positive and maintain a resilient mindset, even in the face of difficult, challenging, dark circumstances, whether they are affecting us personally in an acute way or whether it is more wider community, society-led. Now, my purpose in this video, by the way, is not to try to deconstruct headlines and try to critique or pass judgment on what should or shouldn't be being said and whether data is or isn't accurate or representative and all that stuff. I'll leave that to others. But rather to say, what practically can we do to actually help to ensure that in our minds we're on the front foot so that we can navigate it, address challenges and deal with them as and when we need to, whilst also maintaining a course that is of our own choosing and not getting too easily sidetracked, distracted and drawn into where there be dragons. Now, something happened yesterday for me, which served as a very helpful reminder, and it took place at Tooting Lido, outdoor swimming pool. I happen to live quite close to that pool. It's England's largest pool. It's outdoors, unheated, and it's 90 meters long. So that's almost twice the length of an Olympic pool, and it's 30 meters wide. And yesterday was the first event that the swimming club, which uses the Lido, of which I've been a member now for a little while. It's the first event since lockdown. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I'll enter in to the race or to the event. I say it's a race, it was an event. I mean, there were times and prizes, but I wasn't entering to win for sure. I was entering for the experience. What was the experience? It was the 110 width challenge. Now, 110 widths of a 30 meter wide pool, when you do the maths, it works out at about 2 miles. That is more than twice as far as I have ever swum. The furthest I've ever swum is a kilometer. I did that when I was 6 years old for my 1,000 meter badge, and I did it last week with a very good friend of mine in North London. You know who you are. But other than that, I have never swum more than 1,000 meters. So nevertheless, I thought, well, I'm going to enter this thing because 2 or 3 weeks ago, the water was still quite warm. It was about 18, 19 degrees. By contrast, by the way, or context, an indoor heated pool would be about 25, 26 degrees. So even in the summer, an outdoor unheated pool is still a fair bit colder than an indoor heated pool. But in the last, so I thought, I'll give it a go. Even if all I do is 34 widths, which is a kilometer, give or take, I thought that would be an achievement. In the last few days, it's got quite a bit colder. And so when it got to yesterday's event, not quite to my horror, but let's put it this way, 14.7 degrees. I raised my eyebrows when I saw that. I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. I have no idea how I'm going to get anywhere close to halfway, never mind. Here's what happened. And by the way, this is with no wetsuit. I decided to do this solo. You could do it solo or in a team. You could do it with or without a wetsuit. I decided to do solo without a wetsuit. 14.7 degrees. Maximum cutoff of 100 minutes, right? Anything more than that, and you got pulled out of the water. There was an ambulance outside. I mean, that's St. John's ambulance, bless them. So got the first 20 widths, felt okay, it was fine. And I thought, right, well, I'm not far off doing 34, so let's go for 34. So I aimed for 34. And then it got to 34. I thought, I'm still feeling okay, actually. I can certainly do another width, maybe another 5, aim for 50. Now, this idea, of course, of just forget the big goal, just focus on what the next step is and the next step, breaking it into manageable chunks you'll be familiar with. And by the way, that's not the primary message of this piece, but that was certainly important. Just as I went, I found myself thinking, right, well, I have no idea if I can do 110 width, but I know I can do the next width. Certainly, I can pretty certain. All but certainly do the next 5 or 10 widths. It's amazing how gradually you start to clock off or tick off these little bits of achievement, little bits of tangible progress, which I think is of course, certainly helps the mindset. And don't worry about all the big stuff. Right? What can I do? Right, I can do that. I can do that next width, and then do the next width. And of course, it started to tot up. But here's the real thing that I found that was so empowering, and liberating in the mind, I found that it was impossible to focus on anything else. Now, it's different for different people. Sometimes if I go out running or walking, my mind will start to roam. I'll start to think about things, and drift and think about all sorts of stuff. But with this, because the water was cold, long event, I knew it was challenging. I wanted to make sure I didn't get hypothermia, which can creep up on you, of course, without necessarily realizing it. I was really focused on what I was doing. In other words, it became impossible for me to focus on anything else. And I spent, in the end, an hour and a half in the water, long time. And I did the 110 wits. I managed to complete it all. And of course, that was a very nice feeling, a sense of achievement and so on. It was fab. I was really surprised, to be honest, that I managed to do it. But I think when I got out the water, physically, of course, I felt really quite tired. But mentally, emotionally, I felt like I had been cleansed. I mean, like I'd been to a mental or emotional spa, because I had to flush out all the other stuff that had been in my mind, good stuff as well as not such good stuff, big stuff, small stuff, flushed out, because I had to be 100% focused on what I was doing. Now, I'm not saying, therefore, my advice is, go out and swim outdoors for 2 miles, right? But there are certain things that we can do in our lives that really do require our total focus. Not forever, just for a short period of time. Now, that might involve sport. It might involve a really deep and meaningful conversation. It might involve engaging with a book or a story or a film that we really love. It might involve just going for a walk around a favorite park. But I think we all have in our lives these things which do absorb our focus, and as a result enable us to free ourselves of the gazillion and one other things that might be distracting and unhelpful. I'm thinking here, of course, particularly newspaper, radio, TV news bulletins and headlines. I'm not saying, therefore, we should ignore the news, of course, and that's a personal choice, what you choose to watch, listen to, and how much. But certainly, I think that as a form of mental and emotional diet, there is tremendous value in identifying something that is crunchy, that is going to require your total focus. And it may be something that's not work-related, by the way. And of course, as there are restrictions on travel, currently at least, and what we can and can't do, I think it may just take a little bit more conscious effort to ensure that we do carve out those moments of mental and emotional freshening to help ensure that we maintain the kind of positive and resilient mindset that we need now, arguably more than ever, in order to keep pushing through this and to address the challenges that are being thrown at us. So there's my food for thought. Right? Tooting Lardy, you gotta love it. I never would have thought that I would be producing a video on a 2-mile outdoor swim, but there we go. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, then great, delighted. If you'd like to follow me, then super, that would be a pleasure. Or check out my website, simonbucknell.com. It's my digital home online. You'll find there some other resources and things we can connect if you'd like to. And in the meantime, speak well and speak soon.